You said one true sentence, that's it. And somehow, within seconds, you weren't the one who got hurt anymore. Now your tone's the issue, your timing's the issue. By the end of it, you're the one apologizing. It's rarely dramatic when it starts. A group chat where the reply comes back sharper than you expected. A dinner table where the subject changes the second you bring something up. A text you reread twice because you can't quite believe how fast it turned. You say something small, a boundary, a fact, just, "Hey, that hurt me." And instead of an apology, you get pushback. Now you're too sensitive. Now you're bringing up old stuff. Now you're the one who always makes things a bigger deal than they need to be. You walked in hurt. You walk out explaining yourself. Sometimes it's not even about something big. You mention that a joke landed wrong, or that you needed more notice before plans changed, and the response comes back with a weight that doesn't match what you said. Now the conversation is about your attitude, your history of always doing this, your inability to let things go. The original comment, the small honest thing you actually said, disappears from the conversation entirely, like it was never the topic. Why does it flip that fast? And why does it always seem to work, no matter how calm you stay while it's happening? It isn't random, and that's the part worth paying attention to. There's a shape to it, almost every time. First, denial. What you're describing didn't happen, or didn't happen the way you remember it. Maybe you're misremembering. Maybe you're reading into it. Then the subject changes. It's not about what was said anymore. It's about you, your memory, your motives, whether you're always like this. And somewhere in the middle of that, without you quite catching the exact second it happened, the roles switch. They're hurt now. They're the one who feels attacked, and you're the one who's supposed to fix it. Here's what makes it disorienting rather than just annoying. It doesn't feel like an attack while it's happening. It feels like a misunderstanding you need to clear up. That's the whole trick. Once you can see the shape of it from the outside, it stops feeling like something wrong with you and starts looking like something being done to you, on a script that's been run before. Seneca knew this terrain, and not from a book. He lived inside it for years. As advisor to the Emperor Nero, he worked in a court where the story could change, depending on who was in the room that day, where the wrong reaction at the wrong moment could end your career, or worse. He watched people get destroyed less for being wrong, more for reacting badly at exactly the moment someone wanted them to. Out of that, he left behind a line that stayed relevant for 2,000 years. I quote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." End quote. This wasn't Seneca being pious about staying calm. It was tactical, learned the hard way. Whoever is flipping the story on you needs a specific reaction from you. The raised voice, the scrambling to defend yourself, the visible frustration that can later be pointed to as proof that you're the difficult one. Take even 5 seconds before handing that over, and most of the maneuver runs out of fuel on its own. There's a name for this pattern in modern psychology too, not just in old Stoic letters. Researchers Sarah Harsey and Jennifer Freyd ran 2 separate experiments on it. Over 300 university students were shown the same account of someone being harmed. But in half the cases, the person responsible responded by denying it happened, attacking the person who brought it up, and reversing who looked like the victim. Both experiments landed on the same result. People who watched that reversal trusted the original victim less and shifted more of the blame onto them. Nothing about the facts had changed between the 2 versions. Only the performance had, and the performance was enough to move people's judgment. That changes what this pattern actually is. It isn't a trick that only works on people who weren't paying close enough attention. It's built to work on anyone encountering it for the first time, which is exactly why recognizing it in advance matters more than reacting well in the moment. That's where an old Stoic habit earns its place here, premeditatio malorum, rehearsing a hard moment before it arrives. Not so you walk into every conversation braced for the worst. Just so that if a reversal does happen, it meets someone who's already seen the shape of it before, instead of someone caught flat-footed by how personal it suddenly feels. Centuries before Seneca, on the other side of the world, Lao Tzu was writing about water. Not as something weak, as something that wins precisely because it refuses to fight the way stone fights. I quote, "There is nothing in the world more soft and weak than water. And yet for attacking things that are firm and strong, there is nothing that can take precedence of it." End quote. Water doesn't argue with the rock. It doesn't try to convince it of anything. It simply doesn't take the shape the rock offers. That's available to you too, in the middle of a reversal. You are not required to out-argue someone who has already decided the story is going to bend. The moment you stop pushing back on their terms, matching accusation for accusation, defending every claim they throw out, there's nothing left for the reversal to work against. It needs your resistance to look like proof. So what does this look like when you're not reading it off a screen, but actually sitting across from the person doing it? It looks smaller than people expect. A pause of 3 or 4 seconds before you jump in to defend yourself. Long enough to notice the subject has already changed. Naming it out loud once, without accusation. I think we've moved from what I brought up to what's wrong with me. Returning to your original point one time, calmly instead of chasing it through 3 more rounds of back and forth, and sometimes simply ending the conversation there. Not because you lost, but because a conversation built to keep moving. The goalposts was never going to end in anything you could call resolution. It also looks like knowing the difference between a person who's genuinely confused and one who's performing confusion. A person who's genuinely confused will usually circle back to your original point, eventually once things settle. A person performing the reversal never does. The subject just stays on you, conversation after conversation, until you stop bringing things up at all. That difference, over time, is usually louder than anything said in any single argument. None of that requires you to win the room. It only requires you to leave it, still knowing what actually happened before you walked in. None of this means staying silent forever, or swallowing blame just to keep the peace. And it isn't a verdict on someone's entire character based on one bad conversation. People misunderstand each other. People get defensive without meaning to manipulate anyone. A pause is not the same thing as giving in. It's just enough space to tell the difference between the two. But if this keeps happening, if every attempt to raise something honest ends with you on trial, instead of them answering for it over and over, with different topics but the same ending, that's no longer a misunderstanding. That's a pattern. Write it down, plainly, while it's still fresh. Talk it through with someone outside the relationship, a friend, a therapist, or in more serious situations, someone whose job it is to document exactly this. Recognizing a pattern is not the same as staying inside it. Delay buys you the room to notice what's actually happening, instead of reacting to what it feels like in the moment. Refusing to fight on their terms takes away the one thing the reversal needs in order to work. Neither of those wins the argument. Both of them keep the truth intact, which, most of the time, matters more. Next time the story flips and you find yourself defending your own memory, you don't need to win that room. You just need to walk out of it still standing where you were before you walked in. Thank you for watching.